Welcome to another video, and here I'm going to demonstrate my custom eyes that fit TPE dolls. So all these eyes that you will see are made by myself through some automation method, and as you well probably know that I do doll photography for various vendors, and some of the pictures you can see here, and in some cases I have special eyes made to demonstrate the capability of these for the various pictures. And I also do a lot of pictures for special events where there's elaborate setups needed as well. And so of course the eyes are very essential for a lot of the final products and the pictures that I make ultimately. And the poses and everything has to be strikingly good for my own tastes, let's say, for example. And so these eyes are not the first in the market. Basically, I'm following up another person who makes these as well, but I've done some slight changes to them. So on here on the right hand side, the right eyeball is the stock eye that comes from the factory. You can see the differences between my eye on the left. It's a little bit more translucent, and it's a non-uniform color, and it has a slight yellow tinge to it, which is part of what I had tried to do during the manufacturing process, is to make it a little bit less uniform in color. That gives it a little bit more depth and some level of color that is a little bit more realistic compared to the one on the right. Also, the irises fit very flush to the eyeball, as you can see. It's a hemisphere, and the actual interface between the iris and the eyeball is flush, and that's basically the construction of the eye. And that's the eye on the left without a pupil in it, or at least without an iris embedded in it. These eyeballs have neodymium magnets inside, and they simply snap in place. If I don't drop it, they simply snap in place with a little piece of steel there on each iris. So the stock eyeball on the left, here's mine on the right, and they are identical in size in terms of length and width. So basically the ultimate radius or the diameter is the same as the stock eye, although mine doesn't protrude as much out as the stock factory eyes do. The dome you see there is more a natural flow of the current eyeball that I make. This is an eye moving tool, an eye mover tool or eye picker tool, and it comes with a nice little cap there, and it has the ability to remove the iris like you see there, and also to adjust the eyeball, and this is essential for getting the right look. Now that eye picker tool, you can adjust the eyes while the iris is in the eye, or have it removed. It all depends on whether you can get enough of a leverage and move the eyeball that way. But typically I would just remove the iris and then reposition the eye. So this is a set of 14 colors that will be ultimately sold. It's not necessarily the exact colors that you would get, but this is an expanded kit, the large kit basically, where you would just order a set of irises and may not even need a couple of eyeballs, let's say. You just order the kit of a large set of colors. So 14 set here can be sold and bought individually. Now these are just some test ones here I'm showing you. These pretty much could be boutique level stuff where it might be special occasion irises for whatever you might like. There are different colors like reds in there, which aren't necessarily found in humans, or nor are the cat eyes, but still they are still very useful for certain occasions, and some people like the look. So again, this is a kit of 14 that can be bought in this whole manner, basically sort of 14. So I'll just show you also a little bit more detail about the other kit that I'll be selling, which is a kit of 5 colors. And this is just how it fits flush with the eyeball. The yellow part again just gives it its color, that off-white color, which is that level of translucency that shines through. And it's sort of, I like the way it looks, and compared to the stock eye, which is very uniform in color, and the reflection on it is very smooth, and I don't really think that's so realistic. Maybe for a porcelain doll, perhaps, but not for a human look. We do an actually lifelike pictures of these. You can see the actual iris positions itself well in the eye. It doesn't fall out because there actually are neodymium magnets in there. And that's the kit of 14 right there. So next I'm going to show you a kit of 5 colors. This is the kit you would get if you ordered a bunch of eyeballs. It's a standard kit of about 5 colors, and this is not necessarily the exact colors you'd get, but this is an approximation of what you might find. Basically a set of standard colors that most vendors will offer. And it comes in this little package. So let's see how we remove the stock eye. So on the left side is the existing eyeball that came from this SM dolls from the factory. And you remove it by putting your finger underneath the eyeball and just removing it like that. Notice the cotton remains. And you put my eyeball underneath the existing eyelash. Push it down. Don't damage it. And then pull the bottom eyelid around the eyeball. And that's as simple as it is. Arrange it so that the eye is facing forward. And this is the actual next step where you want to position the eyeball facing exact forward. And that looks pretty good to me. You can adjust the amount of cotton that's in the head. Every manufacturer has their own amount and different styles of cotton. You just need to practice a little bit with this head, or whatever head you have. Make sure that the eyes are not bulging out or are too far inside the eye cavity, because every vendor obviously has a volume inside, or the socket volume, which may not match perfectly, but this is pretty close. You just add cotton as you need. And so here I'm just adjusting the eyes so that they face forward, and are, at this point, you just leave them in. So yes, you can adjust the iris angle with the eye picker tool, or just remove the iris first. You can see it is doable, but on this head, the TPE is a little bit more firmer than a WM head. At least for this formula, it is. So positioning it, you need to remove the iris first. It might be doable, but you can see I could just about get it. And it looks pretty good. And now just do the little examination and make sure that the eyes are seated correctly. And once that's there, I will just leave the eyeballs inside. And that's just compared to the stock eye. So these eyes are obviously translucent to some level. You can kind of see on this head, this is a Doll Forever factory head. On the left side of her is the another person who makes these eyes, and you can see a little ridge around the area where the iris sits on the eyeball. There's a little ridge there, and that's just something I've eliminated on my design, which is on the right hand side. So my eyeball is on the right hand side of this doll for all the pictures you'll see from now on. And this is with these little bluish eyes. They look kind of cool on her. Now with Piper Doll and Doll Forever, the TPE is very, very soft. So you can almost arrange these eyes by with your finger. But that tool is really useful anyway. Notice when I put the iris in, I try not to damage the eye, at least the eyelash. Try not to move it too much and wreck the eyelash. But if you do get it damaged, just use a little crazy glue to re-cement it on. But just try not to glue the eyeball to the eyelash. You can see how that left one looks pretty good, but I think mine has that level of smoothness between the iris and the eyeball, and I really like that look. It's a really smooth transition that you will not see in pictures. Here's a set of brown eyes. And for every doll, every person has their own colors that they really prefer. I'm just going to go through a few iterations of colors that you might find useful. Now, of course, this is using the stock lighting in the garage, which is just high Kelvin fluorescent, actually low Kelvin fluorescent lighting. So it's pretty bright, and it's shop lighting basically. So you're going to get a lot of reflections. So for every head, obviously you're going to have your favorite set of colors that you would just want for your doll. So there's plenty of different options. And in a little while, I'm going to upload the actual color palette that you can order from, and we'll try to figure out how we're going to distribute these through which vendor, and how we're going to have a person select colors. There's going to be some kind of color code that we're going to use. You can see this particular manufacturer, which is Doll Forever, uses a certain type of cotton that I find is very fibrous, and it gets in the eyelash quite a lot, so you'll have to clean it off with a pair of tweezers. So here's some interesting looking irises. They look really cool, I think, and really match her face really well, because it's complexion or the lightness of the skin that really makes a difference. You can see how that fits flush. It's almost like there were veins there, but I didn't paint any on these. But I do custom. Obviously, I can do veins if people want them, but it would be something we have to discuss how we would proceed with that, because it's a lot of work to do that. You can see this is on Piper Doll Ariel. She has very large eyes, but these eyeballs, same as the stock eyes, fit very well. And just using some reddish orange or purple colors. People have requested these in the past, and so I have lots of different colors that for anybody who wants like this type of color. Kind of matches her hair. And of course the standard greens are really cool. They look really good on her as well. I think one of my favorites are the greens and blues that fit on Iris, on Ariel. I think it looks kind of cool. But you can see how easy it is to adjust, even with the existing iris in the eye. You don't have to even remove it with her, because the formula is so soft for the skin. Notice the pupils are of a certain dilation, and I try to keep it so that it's medium light dilation. I don't like wide open dilated eyes. It looks unnatural in certain conditions, especially daylight, which is where you film most of your pictures. And overly small dilation also doesn't look really good. It looks really odd. These irises can also be positioned in the eye in any angle orientation. They're centered, so the irises and pupils, the pupils in this case, are centered on the iris. There should be no reason to rotate them. So I do these obviously on a machine that I make these irises. It's through a vacuum machine, and obviously these are printed on a certain material. I use a certain type of adhesive to prevent air bubbles, and also a vacuum chamber. And they're set on a press so that they are of uniform consistency. So there's a lot more than just making these yourself. I did spend a lot of time trying to get these to look as good as possible. Of course, this is a process where you can always improve on the available product, basically by producing more types of colors and whatever. But generally, this is as good as I think anyone can really get with these eyes. And I really like the way these cat eyes are. And then I'll just leave you with a few remaining pictures that I took a few months ago. And this is again like trying to illustrate the importance of a good pose, eye contact, And of course, obviously having a good set of eyes is important so that it looks authentic. And she looks like she's actually looking at you with eyes that are very believable. Anyway, I'll leave you with that, and thanks for watching. And further details will be revealed in the next video. Thanks for watching.